San Andreas Fault. It's infamous, potentially dangerous.
NASA has just revealed a terrifying discovery. California has cracked open the Earth. A massive split along fault lines has scientists scrambling to understand what's happening beneath the surface. These cracks are not just fractures. They are clues to what the intense forces tearing at the planet's crust really are. Now, NASA scientists are closely watching as these new cracks along fault lines raise serious questions about the stability of the state. But what's really happening? Is the long-feared big one finally around the corner? Join us as we reveal the shocking details of NASA's latest discovery. NASA's shocking revelation. NASA has made an unexpected announcement that has sent shockwaves worldwide. The Earth beneath California is cracking open. This discovery isn't just another geological event, it's a wake-up call that has stunned scientists and raised urgent questions about what's happening beneath our feet. Scientists wonder if this could be the precursor to the long-feared big one, or if something even more mysterious is at play. This shocking revelation comes from NASA's advanced satellite monitoring systems, closely observing shifts in California's landscape. For years, scientists have known that the San Andreas Fault, a massive tectonic plate boundary stretching through the state, is one of the most dangerous seismic zones in the world, knowing it could one day unleash a catastrophic earthquake. But now, the data reveals something new: unusual fractures in the Earth's crust, unlike before. These fractures hint at hidden movements deep within the Earth, which could be building towards something far greater. You might want to keep watching to find out more, as it gets even more shocking from here. The news has left the scientific community both alarmed and fascinated. California sits on the edge of two massive tectonic plates, the Pacific Plate and the North American Plate. These plates constantly move, grind against each other, and store immense energy over time. When that energy is released, it causes earthquakes, but these newly detected cracks suggest that the ground beneath California might reach a critical point. The implications of these findings are massive. Millions of lives could be at risk if these cracks are a precursor to a major earthquake. California is home to over 39 million people, and many cities sit directly on or near fault lines. A massive quake could devastate infrastructure, disrupt lives, and even change the state's landscape, but the effects wouldn't stop there. A quake this large could ripple across the globe, affecting economies, travel, and even climate. So what's happening beneath California? The answer lies miles below the surface, where the Earth's crust is under constant stress. As tectonic plates shift, they create faults and fractures in the rock where movement occurs. It is no news that the San Andreas Fault is the most famous, but hundreds of smaller, interconnected faults are crisscrossing the state. These cracks could prove that pressure builds in ways scientists didn't fully understand before. NASA's monitoring tools have shown slight but significant changes in ground elevation and movement, indicating that the Earth is preparing for something big. This discovery has raised concerns not just in California but globally, because if the Earth is cracking at this scale, what could it mean for the future of seismic activity? Experts are trying to analyze the data. Still, one thing is clear: this development can't be ignored. Now, the big question is whether the San Andreas Fault is about to unleash its fury. What do you think about this? Let's find out. The science of Earth's moves. Whether the San Andreas Fault is about to unleash its fury has been on the minds of scientists and Californians alike for decades. Remember, we said, the San Andreas Fault is a geological giant that stretches over 800 miles through California. It has the potential to cause a catastrophic earthquake when it finally moves. But here's the terrifying truth: it's already moving, but not in a way most people would expect. The fault comprises two main sections, the locked and creeping sections. The locked section, which spans large parts of the fault, is where the most danger lies. Here, the two tectonic plates are stuck beneath the Pacific Ocean and the other beneath North America. They are moving slowly, but they aren't able to slip past each other easily. This creates immense pressure and tension, which has been building up for decades. On the other hand, the creeping section is constantly shifting, though much more slowly. This section allows the plates to slide past each other without causing much damage, but the pressure in the locked section? It's growing, and it's only a matter of time before that tension is released in a massive earthquake. Now, You may be wondering how scientists know this. NASA's technology allows scientists to study these cracks and understand the Earth's movements like never before. They have incredibly advanced tools that will enable them to study the Earth's movements in real time. One such tool is seismic wave attenuation. Seismic waves are the ripples that spread through the Earth when an earthquake occurs. Seismic wave attenuation works by observing how these waves lose energy as they travel through different layers of the Earth. If there's a lot of stress in a certain area, the seismic waves will travel slower and lose more energy. This is a clue that the ground is under pressure, and a big shift may be coming. Scientists can even use this data to predict where the stress is concentrated, and in turn, figure out which areas of the fault are more likely to experience a major quake. This could lead to better earthquake forecasting, stronger building codes, and more effective disaster preparedness plans. It is said that the Earth may be sending us a warning, but we have the tools to listen and act. The fault has gone through periods of activity and dormancy, and scientists are still trying to crack the code to see when that locked section will finally release all that built-up pressure. What we do know is that California is overdue for a major earthquake. The last major shakeup along the San Andreas Fault was over 150 years ago. Since then, the tension has only increased. While scientists continue to monitor the fault with advanced tools like seismic wave attenuation, they can't predict exactly when that tension will finally snap. But what if we tell you that it is not only the San Andreas Fault's fury that California and the world should be worried about? Have you heard of Parkfield? Let's see what this terrifying phenomenon is also all about. The calm before the storm near Parkfield. There is a place in California called Parkfield, which sits right on the San Andreas Fault. Parkfield is a hotspot for seismic activity. But here's the strange thing. Scientists have noticed that the fault in this area seems to rest for years. Sometimes the ground shakes, but other times it stays silent for long periods. This silence is known as a quiet period. It's easy to assume that everything is fine. Still, these quiet periods are some of the most dangerous moments. Scientists have been studying these silent moments because they could hold the key to predicting when the next big quake will strike. During these quiet times, the tectonic plates that form the fault are still locked in place, building up immense pressure. It's like a bowstring being pulled tighter and tighter, waiting for it to snap. And when it does, the result is an earthquake that can shake the very ground beneath you. We know you're wondering how scientists know exactly when this is coming. The answer is simply in the behavior of the fault. Every time the San Andreas Fault experiences a quiet period, it's followed by a release of pressure, sometimes in the form of a small tremor or a giant earthquake. These quiet periods aren't just random pauses. They are part of a natural rhythm that scientists are beginning to understand better. But the real challenge is predicting exactly when that pressure will finally snap. Will it happen in a year, a decade, or sooner than anyone expects? It's easy to ignore the quiet periods and assume they're harmless, but they are a sign of a ticking time bomb. The tension building along the fault isn't a simple, predictable event. It's an ongoing process beneath the surface, hidden from our view. During these quiet periods, the plates on either side of the fault slowly slide against each other. As they do, stress accumulates. Eventually, that stress becomes so great that the plates can't hold it any longer, and they slip, causing an earthquake. Interestingly, these quiet periods actually have a pattern. In fact, they're one of the most important clues scientists use to predict future earthquakes. The longer the silent period, the more stress builds up. That's why experts are constantly studying how these periods play out to predict the timing and magnitude of the next quake. And although we still can't predict the exact moment, the evidence is clear. The next big earthquake could be closer than we think. But while we can't predict exactly when earthquakes will happen, scientists are making great strides in trying to understand them better. And in the case of NASA, they've taken technology to a whole new level. These satellites are equipped with specialized tools that map out the movements of the Earth's crust in real time. By studying these shifts, NASA scientists can better understand where stress is building and how it might affect the surrounding area. These advanced sensors can sometimes detect small shifts in the Earth's crust long before they lead to a major quake. Though NASA's satellites can't stop earthquakes, they are helping us better understand them. They provide valuable data that allows scientists to pinpoint areas where stress is concentrated. By studying how the fault behaves over time, scientists are starting to understand the patterns that lead to larger quakes. This information is critical because it could give us more time to prepare before disaster strikes. But here's the scary part. Despite all the technological advances, scientists still can't predict exactly when it will happen. They can only tell us that it's coming, and that uncertainty leaves Californians and the rest of the world wondering if we are actually ready for what's coming, because earthquakes are complicated and unpredictable. And while NASA's tech is very helpful, it's not a crystal ball that can tell us exactly when the next quake will happen. For years, experts have warned that California is overdue for the big one, a massive earthquake that could devastate the region. The San Andreas Fault is long past the point where it typically releases its pressure, and scientists are starting to worry that the longer the fault stays quiet, the more dangerous it becomes. In fact, many experts believe that we're already in a high-risk period. The tension that's been building could soon be released in a catastrophic quake that will shake California to its core. Don't forget the last major earthquake occurred in 1857, meaning we are now well overdue for another. This isn't just a theoretical concern. Scientists believe the fault is so stressed that the next big quake could be more devastating than any we've experienced in modern history. Sadly, while California has made great strides in earthquake preparedness, the truth is that many buildings still need to be built to withstand the force of a major earthquake. Roads, bridges, and entire communities are at risk if the big quake strikes. But there's hope. Remember, we said, by studying the quiet periods, using advanced technology to measure stress buildup, and improving building codes and emergency plans, we are making progress in preparing for the inevitable. Scientists are now working round the clock to understand the patterns and to make us safer. But ultimately, the Earth will do what it does, and all we can do is prepare as best as we can. What we do know, though, is that the next quake will come. It's only a matter of when. Dried up riverbeds, ancient lake beds, and extensive valley networks features that strongly suggest that water once flowed across the Martian landscape. However, it is the rovers and landers that deliver the intimate details. For instance, scientists were already aware that Jezero Crater was once a lake, but thanks to Perseverance's stunning imagery, they have come to realize that the history of water in this crater is far more intricate and dynamic than previously believed. The rover's images reveal that sediments entering Jezero's lake were deposited in a delta.
This coloured area shows where the river met the lake, depositing sediment to create a delta. The rover landed here in the floor of the crater,
indicating that water flow was not a fleeting occurrence but rather a sustained process over a significant period. Even more compelling is the evidence of late-stage, high-energy flooding that carried massive boulders into the crater. The source of these later floods remains a mystery, but each new observation contributes to a clearer picture of Mars's complex and watery past. The discovery of minerals and rock formations indicating past water presence is crucial to understanding Mars's history. Recently, NASA made headlines with a remarkable find. This recent finding will blow your mind. On May 30th, NASA's Curiosity rover astonished scientists by uncovering bright yellow sulfur crystals within a rock it accidentally cracked open. Since October 2023, Curiosity has been exploring a Martian region rich in sulfates, salts that typically form when water evaporates, leaving behind sulfur-based minerals. However, this latest discovery was unlike anything previously encountered. The rock contained pure sulfur, not merely a mixture with other materials. This unexpected find left scientists both puzzled and thrilled. While people might associate sulfur with the distinct odor of rotten eggs, it's important to note that pure sulfur is actually odorless. It forms under very specific conditions that had not been previously linked to this part of Mars. Discovering an entire field of bright sulfur rocks feels akin to unearthing hidden treasure in an unexpected location. The Curiosity rover is part of the Mars Science Laboratory mission, designed to explore Mars and determine if it could have supported life. NASA began planning Curiosity in the early 2000s and officially approved it in 2004. Built by NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Curiosity is about the size of a small SUV, standing 7 feet tall, 9 feet wide, and 10 feet long, weighing around 2,000 pounds. Curiosity is packed with gadgets, cameras, and a robotic arm that can drill into rocks and scoop up soil, making it like a Swiss Army knife for Mars exploration. Building Curiosity was a huge challenge, requiring thousands of engineers and scientists to ensure it could survive Mars' harsh conditions. One of its amazing features is the multi-mission radioisotope thermoelectric generator, which converts heat from radioactive decay into electricity. This allows Curiosity to operate continuously, day and night, even if it would rain on Mars. Curiosity launched on an Atlas V rocket on November 26, 2011, from Cape Canaveral, Florida. After an 8-month journey through space, it landed on Mars on August 6, 2012.
You may remember the excitement when NASA successfully landed its Perseverance rover on Mars.
The landing was nerve-wracking, known as the 7 minutes of terror. NASA used a sky crane to lower Curiosity gently to the surface, a method that had never been tried before. Thankfully, it worked perfectly. Curiosity landed in Gale Crater, a large basin featuring a layered mountain called Mount Sharp. This site was chosen because the layers may hold clues about Mars's history. Curiosity's main tasks are to explore the terrain, analyze rocks and soil, and search for signs that Mars may have once had conditions suitable for life. Curiosity has been navigating the Geddes Vallis Channel, a winding groove along the side of Mount Sharp. The rover's mission focuses on studying the layers of this surface to understand when and where Mars may have had conditions suitable for microbial life. Scientists had identified the Geddes Vallis Channel from space long before Curiosity launched, believing it was carved by flowing liquid water and debris flows. Curiosity's recent findings suggest that some debris piles within the channel likely resulted from powerful water flows, while others appear to be remnants of dry landslides. This conclusion stems from a careful analysis of the rocks found in the debris mounds. Stones shaped by water are typically rounded, resembling river rocks, while angular rocks suggest they may have been deposited by avalanches. Additionally, the presence of white halo shapes in some rocks indicates where water caused chemical reactions, further confirming the evidence of past water activity on Mars. Perseverance was built with input from the Curiosity engineering team, making the two rovers quite similar and allowing them to share hardware. Engineers enhanced Perseverance's wheels to make them tougher than Curiosity's, which showed wear after driving for many kilometers on Mars. The new wheels are thicker and made of durable aluminum, with a diameter of 52.5 centimeters compared to Curiosity's 50-centimeter wheels.
It can go over obstacles of up to 40 centimeters, that's just over a foot, and it can go up slopes of up to 30 degrees, so that's about a 57% grade.
These wheels feature cleats for better traction and curved titanium spokes for added support. Because of its larger set of tools and the new sampling and caching system, Perseverance weighs 14% more than Curiosity, coming in at 1,025 kilograms versus Curiosity's 899 kilograms. The rover is equipped with a 2.1 meters robotic arm that has 5 joints. This arm works with a turret to analyze geological samples from the Martian surface. To power its systems, Perseverance uses a multi-mission radioisotope thermoelectric generator, which was originally a backup part for Curiosity.
It uses radioisotope power because it has to be able to operate through the winter.
This generator weighs 45 kilograms and contains 4.8 kilograms of plutonium dioxide to provide steady heat, which is converted into electricity. At launch, it generates around 110 watts of power, maintaining this output over the mission's duration. Perseverance also includes 2 lithium-ion rechargeable batteries to handle spikes in power demand when the rover's activities temporarily exceed the MMRTG's output. One of the 7 onboard instruments is RIMFAX, a radar developed by Norway's Defense Research Establishment, led by principal investigator Svein Erik Hamran. This mission marks the first time an uncrewed helicopter will be included, controlled by Havard Fier Grip and his team at NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Each Mars mission builds on the last, helping NASA improve technology and explore new possibilities for future missions. With Perseverance, NASA aims to test new technologies and improve these capabilities, paving the way for future robotic and human missions to the Moon and Mars. While scientists have been uncovering these fascinating discoveries on Mars, some UFO enthusiasts have come up with wild theories about the red planet. A few believe they have identified a circular arrangement of stones, which they've dubbed Mars Henge, drawing a parallel to the famous Stonehenge on Earth. This find has ignited a flurry of imaginative theories and debates among space enthusiasts. Some speculate that these stones could be the remnants of an ancient Martian civilization, perhaps linked to ancient cultures on Earth or constructed by visitors from our planet eons ago. Such theories excite many who are captivated by the mysteries of Mars and wonder what life may have existed there. However, not everyone shares this enthusiasm. Most scientists remain skeptical regarding the notion of Mars Henge as an intriguing find, but not concrete evidence of an ancient Martian society. They believe that while the discovery is fascinating, it is essential to remain grounded in scientific inquiry. In the vast red deserts of Mars, some enthusiasts also perceive signs of a long-lost Martian society in images captured by NASA. They claim to spot shapes resembling pyramids and statues with human-like features, sparking a variety of captivating stories about Mars's history.
A lot of different objects on Mars that people see or think they see in various rover images, and it's really hard to dismiss them because they do look exactly like sculptures that human beings make.
Some people argue that these shapes appear too perfect to be natural, suggesting they could be remnants of buildings and artwork from a time when an intelligent civilization thrived on Mars. Yet, scientists, who dedicate their lives to studying planets and the possibility of life beyond Earth, look at the same images and see natural formations shaped by erosion and wind, reminding us that while imagination is essential, it must be balanced with scientific evidence. The exploration of planet Mars is not an exercise that has just started. In fact, it has been going on since the 90s. Let us take a moment to look into the early exploration of this red planet. NASA's early Mars exploration. NASA took the first step to explore Mars in 1964 when the Mariner 4 mission was launched. NASA marked a major success for the agency and the space age as it returned the first photos of another planet from deep space. With a new all-metal shroud, Mariner 4 lifted off smoothly and was boosted toward Mars by the Agena D upper stage. A course correction on December 5, 1964, ensured the spacecraft would fly between 5,000 and 6,000 miles from Mars. One scientific instrument, the plasma probe, had a component failure, making its readings unclear. However, due to a better telemetry rate, some data was received from January to May 1965. Additionally, a Geiger tube in the ionization chamber stopped returning data in March 1965. About 40 minutes before its closest approach on July 15th, at a distance of 6,118 miles.
Storage, first close-up of another planet. Light and dark markings can be seen on Mars. Its surface is separated from the black of outer space beyond by the curving line of the planet's edge, called the limb.
The TV camera began taking 21 images using red and green filters. After the encounter, Mariner 4 dipped behind Mars in an occultation experiment, refracting its radio signals through the Martian atmosphere. This data indicated low surface pressure, suggesting future landers would need retro rocket engines in addition to parachutes. The images and occultation data changed the scientific view of Mars, providing solid evidence instead of speculation. The probe measured daytime surface temperatures at -148 degrees Fahrenheit and detected a very weak radiation belt, about 0.1% of Earth's. The day after its closest approach, Mariner 4 began sending its photos back to Earth. The images showed Mars as an ancient, moon-like body with widespread craters, quashing any hopes of lost civilizations. Scientists concluded that, given the thin atmosphere, it was unlikely Mars had any life. NASA kept in touch with the spacecraft until October 1, 1965, when it was 192 million miles from Earth. In October 1967, 2 years later, the spacecraft was reactivated for attitude control tests to support the Mariner 5 mission to Venus, which used a similar design. Contact continued until December 31, 1967, over 3 years after the launch. The Mariner 4, was the first successful flyby mission that sent back the first close-up images of Mars. And what did we see? And what was seen was craters, like in the moon. NASA's Viking project found a place in history when it became the first U.S. mission to land a spacecraft safely on the surface of Mars and return images of the surface. Two identical spacecraft, each with a lander and an orbiter, were created for Mars exploration. The orbiter-lander pairs flew together and entered orbit around Mars. The landers then separated and descended to the surface. Viking 1 landed on the western slope of Crust Planitia, while Viking 2 touched down at Utopia Planitia. Viking Lander 2 sent its last data to Earth on April 11, 1980, and Viking Lander 1 made its final transmission on November 11, 1982. In addition to capturing digital images and collecting scientific data, the two landers conducted 3 biology experiments to search for signs of life. These experiments revealed unexpected chemical activity in Martian soil, but found no clear evidence of living microorganisms near the landing sites. To prepare for the Viking program, early astrobiologists and exobiologists from NASA studied some of Earth's most extreme environments, including Antarctica's dry valleys and Chile's Atacama Desert. These locations serve as excellent analogs for Mars, and researching life in such settings has become crucial in astrobiology. The Viking results significantly advanced our understanding of life on Earth and how to detect it. They continue to influence the development of life detection strategies and technologies at NASA and other international agencies. NASA's Viking project occurred before the establishment of its astrobiology program, but many scientists from the earlier exobiology program contributed to the mission. Viking marked NASA's first serious attempt to search for life on another planet and is regarded as the first mission dedicated to astrobiology. Viking 1 and 2 were NASA's landers and orbiters sent to Mars. Each spacecraft launched together and then separated in Mars orbit. The landers went down to the surface while the orbiters stayed above to study the planet. Before Viking 1 landed, only the Soviet Union's Mars 3 had operated from the surface. Mars 3 touched down in December 1971, but lost contact less than 2 minutes later. Viking 1 and 2 gave scientists the most detailed view of Mars up to that point. The orbiters used high-resolution cameras to create global maps, showing 2 main areas, the northern low plains and the southern cratered highlands. They also captured amazing images of volcanoes, dust storms, and canyons. The landers measured temperatures at their sites, ranging from about -120 to -20 degrees Celsius. They discovered that Mars's reddish soil contained iron-rich clay. The landers conducted chemical tests to look for signs of life, but the results were unclear, leaving the question of life on Mars unanswered. Viking 1 launched on August 20, 1975, and reached Mars orbit on June 19, 1976. The lander touched down on July 20, 1976. Viking 2 followed closely, launching on September 9, 1975. It entered orbit on August 7, 1976, and landed on September 3rd. The Viking missions cost $1.06 billion, which is about $7.1 billion when adjusted for inflation in 2020. This makes Viking NASA's most expensive robotic mission for planetary science. Over half of the costs went to developing the landers, while the orbiters cost $217 million. Operations until 1982 added another $104 million. That is not all. Both Viking missions far outlasted their planned 90-day missions. Viking 2's orbiter mission ended on July 25, 1978, while Viking 1's orbiter lasted until August 7, 1980. The Viking 2 lander operated until April 11, 1980, and Viking 1 continued until November 11, 1982. The landers included experiments to look for signs of life in Martian soil. Each lander scooped up soil and added water with nutrients and radioactive carbon. If any microorganisms existed, they would consume the nutrients and release the radioactive carbon as a gas, which the landers could detect. This is essentially what happened. The landers also ran a control experiment by heating the soil to kill any microorganisms before adding the nutrient solution. In those tests, they did not detect radioactive carbon as expected. Many scientists found the results hard to believe since other data suggested Mars was lifeless. Later missions found perchlorate, a harmful compound in high doses, in the Martian soil. This could have affected the Viking tests. Further studies have questioned whether perchlorate alone can explain the findings. NASA's exploration of Mars with rovers like Perseverance and Curiosity reveals many exciting discoveries. From signs of ancient water to the sounds of Mars, each finding helps us understand the planet better. As we continue to explore, our curiosity about what we might find next keeps growing, reminding us that Mars still holds many secrets. What do you think about this discovery? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Also, click the next video on your screen to enjoy more exciting content.